As you've probably heard by now, we've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code The Athletic, and you'll get a 1-year subscription to The Athletic, plus up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code The Athletic. Make your first deposit of at least $10. Place your first bet on any game and claim your voucher for a 1-year subscription to The Athletic. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., Mississippi, New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona. 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code The Athletic, and you'll get a 1-year subscription to The Athletic, plus up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager.
Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA.
The Athletic.
Could Marc Marquez somehow lose the 2025 MotoGP World Championship despite winning 8 out of 10 races so far and having the pace to win both the 2 he lost, well, crashed out of, and everything else this season if he wanted to? This is the Race MotoGP Podcast. I'm Matt Beer. Simon Patterson is with me from the Jerez press room. This is going to be a kind of mini-ish pod. I expect we'll run on longer than we expect tonight because we want to split it this week. We've got the test on Monday. We're going to be back with you after that as well. We're hoping there'll be a few interesting developments there. So we just want to jump on Marc Marquez's crash from the Spanish Grand Prix, Fabio Quartararo's near victory, and the fact Alex Marquez actually did win a Grand Prix, Simon. It has happened. So we're going to talk about those 3 things tonight, and then be back with you later in the week to delve into everything else. So let's start with Marc's crash, Simon. Now, Marc Marquez has always been capable of crashing out of races just as much as he's been capable of winning all of them as well. What was your take on what happened this time?
I think for the first time this season we saw Marc under pressure. I think Alex breathing down his neck kind of put him under quite a bit of pressure. He didn't look comfortable all race. He looked kind of a bit wobbly, a bit out of control, and honestly it was a bit dumb because we've seen this year on this GP25 Ducati that the longer the race goes on, the faster he gets. Yeah. He's stronger at the end of the race. He didn't need to be kind of throwing it down the road early on unless he felt like he didn't have the potential to kind of hunt down, I think, Alex in particular at the end of the race. And yeah, I think that he was trying to make a move. The other possibility, to give him credit, is that they expected him to be in P1 by this point and that the tyre pressure was not set up to be following other bikes. So maybe he was trying to get to the front to get clean air and run that before it kind of went through the roof and he fell off because of that. But, the reality is he made a mistake that he shouldn't have made. He didn't need to make. And honestly, he just got lucky that it only cost him kind of 16 points to Pecco Bagnaia and not 25.
He did sound more confused than anything else after this one. Let's have a quick listen to some of what Marc said when he met the media soon after the crash.
So Marc, you're doing like Pecco last year.
Yes.
Pecco lost the championship, and it's clear that you're very strong, but you can't keep making these mistakes.
Yeah, it's super strange because it's the year that I'm crashing less.
Yeah.
But
you're not crashing in practice anymore.
For that reason, and 2 times on the Sunday. So is there where I need to keep improving and try to understand the character of this bike that I feel super good, but this kind of mistakes is the ones that, for example, today I don't understand a lot. But the bike is working super good because, as we see, without the wings, without everything, again, I was riding well. But if I want to fight for the championship, I need to learn about these mistakes.
So 10 races, 8 wins, and 2 crashes, while you had maybe the best race pace. You're still Mr. All-In, or what's your managing
No, I'm
races?
calm, I'm riding well. But the both crashes was not about all-in. I mean, both crashes was just because I was riding too easy. So keep focused for the future.
It is easy to forget, given how straightforward winning these races has looked for Marc so far this season, that this is still a bike he's kind of learning. Okay, it's not full-on Ducati GP25, but he has had a significant machinery change. He's in a new team. There is still stuff here he's trying to figure out. And the fact that his kind of elsewhere in his media debrief, he was like, I don't know if it was too much lean angle. I don't know if I carried too much speed in. Nothing struck him as an obvious reason for this shunt. And I think it just feels learning curvy as much as anything else to me. I know you said about the pressure, but he's still figuring this bike and this team out too.
I mean, if there's one thing we know about Honda era Marc Marquez, it's that he was very good at crashing to find the limits. Yeah. And he hasn't done a lot of that at Ducati. He hasn't done an awful lot of that kind of falling off to find the limits thing. So maybe that's an element of it. Maybe it was, just he doesn't really know what he can do with this bike yet. And arguably that's because he's not really had to try to do too much for this bike because it's been so easy this season. Like it really is. It's like someone getting caught out in a computer game by a tough level because you've been playing on easy mode until now. Like the whole Mark, this might dent my championship hopes is absolute nonsense. It's absolutely, there is no one has even come close to looking like he's going to beat Mark in the championship this year. Not Alex, not Pecco, not anyone else. They're not even, and I know he's not leading the championship right now, but it's like there's still 14,000 races to come or something this season, and they're at circuits where he's going to be quick. This is a circuit he didn't think he was going to be quick, and I think there's so much momentum that we're going to have pretty much exactly what we thought we were going to have at the start of the year, which is 2019 Marc Marquez finishes every race in first or second or falls off and wins the championship with 6 rounds to go.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I can also see potentially as the season goes on, Marc going into that 2019 mode where he did let a few wins get away from him almost deliberately because he didn't need every single point there by that time. He knew that the title was wrapped up. He said similarly about not getting above 12th in this comeback ride at Jerez. Now, he got back from 21st to 12th despite there being gaping holes in the side of his bike and a lot of aero missing as well. And he kind of he noted as well that the pace seemed fairly good even with that.
So in his at the end of his or during his debrief, Luca Marini had kind of said, I don't know exactly what Marc was doing. I don't know what state his bike was in. And I just after his debrief finished, I had a photograph that I had screenshotted and I showed him on my phone, and he was like, "Oh, that's like 5 or 6 kilometers an hour."
Oh wow!
Yeah. Mr. Engineer Luca looked at it, was immediately assessed the speed damage it done, but he was like, "No, that's a lot."
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised looking at the state of it. I know, Simon, you've said it's not going to cost him a title. I think I agree with you. Although when you look at it on pure statistical terms, 2 out of 5 Grand Prix he's now crashed out of. As a percentage, that's quite big if that's carried across the whole season. And in the Race Members Club on Patreon, we do have quite a lot of people whose first instinct is Marc going to throw away the championship with this? Motorsport Mike says 2 big errors in Grand Prix. Could this be an issue for Marquez later on? JT says, why the mistakes from Marc at places he should be imperious, like at Kota and a left-hander at Jerez? He should be able to cruise the championship without these errors. Jerez Naram says, is Marc pushing too hard, or is the Ducati too good to catch him off guard? I think this is, as Jerez says, is what Bagnaia complained of sometimes last year, the fact that you didn't know when the bike was going to bite you, because most of the time it was just giving you a really lovely time. The way Aidan phrases it is, does today confirm that the only person that will lose Marc the title is Marc. I think, Aidan, you've kind of hit the nail on the head there. We don't have anyone quick enough to beat Marc Marquez this championship on pure pace. I don't think he's going to crash away the title, but the only way that he might lose the title is by crashing, because he's not going to be outpaced.
I've just checked something very quickly, and Luca Marini, the technical genius, was exactly right. Marc was 5 kilometers an hour slower than he was. I know that he was in the sprint race. The guy's a genius. Yeah. The thing is, right, that all might be valid. That might all be the case. That might be an argument to be making, because he's making these big mistakes, blah, blah, blah. If we didn't have sprints, but he's still adding another 12 points every weekend in the sprints where he is literally unbeatable. And I think that on the balance of that, it just, he can get away with making the odd mistake here and there. If it means that he can still just add a load more points elsewhere. And it's coming, it's super important to clarify. It's coming, like you said, Matt, as he's still learning this bike to an extent. So all of that is still going on. And I think he's going to get more confident and the bike is going to get better as we progress. This is the other thing. Alex remains on the GP24 that is the best motorbike in the world right now, not the GP25 that's a bit shoddy. But we go straight from here into a test tomorrow where obviously Ducati are going to get faster. And they're going to continue to get faster from this point onwards, and Alex is not. Alex's bike is at its technical peak. It's not going any further. But that's not going to be the case for Marc and Pecco. So I just think none of these crashes dent the momentum that he needs to cruise to a title.
Yeah, it's interesting. We had planned originally to do the podcast recording on Monday night after the test, because I had in mind very strongly that Ducati could be bringing more its actual bike to this test. That's one of the things I thought might start to reshape the title battle a bit. And then Fabio Quartararo nearly wins a Grand Prix and Marc Marquez shunts again. I was like, no, we need to record Sunday night. We've got to get something out there a little bit quicker. Another thing that struck me listening to Marc Marquez after the crash, one of the other members of the media, I forget who, apologies to them, tentatively asked Marc if it was okay to ask if the 2020 Jerez race was on his mind during that comeback ride.
It was Adam Wheeler from On Track Off-Road.
Which was an absolutely fair question, and I liked how gently Adam asked that question as well, because it's
a touchy subject.
Yeah, absolutely.
It almost ended the guy's career and took away his arm.
Completely.
It's a touchy subject. It has to be.
But there's an awful lot of journalists who would still go in with both barrels.
Well, I need to say, right, this is just a little bit of like behind the scenes housekeeping or whatever. This is why I prefer media debriefs so much more to press conferences, which if you follow me on social media is something I talk about a lot, because you can ask that question in a quite intimate media scrum.
Yeah.
In a much easier way than whenever you're standing at the back of a room holding a microphone with a camera pointing at you and them. It's a lot easier to kind of take your way to carefully explain something like that. So that's why I prefer scrums over press conferences.
No, absolutely. And you could tell from the way Marc answered that he felt he was in kind of trustworthy company.
Yeah.
Basically, to answer that. But he very quickly said, yes, it was on my mind. So I know quite a few of you are relatively new MotoGP fans. Obviously, you'll know about Marc Marquez having had the career-changing arm injury at Jerez in 2020. But the circumstance of that was so similar to today.
Same corner.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Amazing pace, crashes, coming back to the field. But last time, it ended really, really badly for him. And today he admitted, yes, that was completely on his mind. He could have got higher than 12, but his phrase was, I won't exaggerate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was completely on his mind. I think it was in the back of his mind. Because he's still, the way that some of those overtakes are being stuck in. Yeah, he was still, but it was not, we had this conversation in the media center. It was not Argentina 2018 back of the field charging Marc Marquez, where he used other riders as berms and targets. Yeah. No, it was more controlled.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that goes back to the whole easy mode thing. He's got so much of an advantage on this bike. Multiple riders said afterwards that they were astonished at how quickly he overtook them. I think both Raul Fernandez and Alex Rins talked about it in their debrief, that they just couldn't believe how fast he was.
I mean, it's interesting you say Raul Fernandez and Alex Rins, because among the many topics in the Race Members Club questions that we're not getting to in this miniature podcast abuse is too strong, but yet more question marks over Alex Rins and Raul Fernandez after this weekend's results. We'll get to those later in the gap between now and Le Mans, we promise. But
yes,
yeah, he's got, like you say, he's got this easy mode margin. The difference between now and Jerez 2020 for me was, okay, he had dominant pace on that Honda that day, but he was in panic mode already because testing had been so fraught that season. And then he'd had that 4-month pause due to COVID, like we all had before that. And then he was hacking back to the field with that air of, I don't know how long this advantage is going to last, because this is a bit of a cut and shut bike that Honda lashed together for me on the final night of a test 4 months ago, and the world's gone crazy. Whereas today he could go 12th, 10th, 11th. I'm going to have the best bike all season. This is going to be fine.
Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrente a sus rivales, enfrenta tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre al app para llevarte ofertas antes del cutoff. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
There are people out there all across the country pushing boundaries to grow the game of golf. Like champion speed golfer Lauren Cupp, who plays faster than anyone else. And Will Lowry, whose work in the golf community inspires more kids to get into the game. As a champion partner of the Masters, Bank of America supports everyone determined to find out what's possible. In golf and in life. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Bank of America N.A. member FDIC, copyright 2025, Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Once Marc Marquez had crashed out, there was a glorious period where, as use Ben Johnson from the Race Members Club's phrasing here, how nice was it to kid ourselves for 11 whole laps that a Yamaha might hold on to win? Mega stuff by Fabio Quartararo. Quartararo and Yamaha took pole with that qualifying session. Those Quartararo laps were so good. He blew it in the sprint. Crashed early. Marc Marquez dominated that.
Yeah.
But in the Grand Prix, once Marc was out, I was thinking, okay, this is on. He's actually getting away a little bit while Alex Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia are tripping over each other a bit. This could be a Yamaha victory. Did you have that faith at that point, Simon? Or?
No. Although at that point I will admit I thought it would be Bagnaia who'd be able to come through, and I thought Alex Marquez would have had a bit of a tire mare, because that's kind of what Alex traditionally has done. But I mean, super strong ride. He was never going to hold on to the checkered flag. It just wasn't going to happen. But that takes nothing away from a really, really excellent Fabio performance. Like a really excellent Fabio performance. And I don't think we weren't going to see a Yamaha win in any way today. We were going to see Fabio win, because it just proves how head and shoulders he is above everything else that's going on in that team. Bike, riders, rivals, whatever. He is just superb at the minute. And it kind of felt, we talked about this, didn't we, last year, about how it kind of felt like he'd maybe lost his mojo a little bit, lost a bit of the spark that was kind of motivating him to really push it. And obviously this year Yamaha's brought a better bike that's improving all the time, and he's kind of leaned into that. He's responded in kind by upping his own game and just being awesome. And like that qualifying performance was stunning.
Oh, it was, yeah. I just keep making noises rather coherent sentences about it, because it was just one of those laps where it looks good on the screen, and then you see the red sectors popping up, and you're like, how is this man actually beating what Marc Marquez's lap at the start of Q2 was a lap...
That first flying lap was,
circuit record straight away, just incredible. And to beat that on a Yamaha, just absolutely outstanding. It's interesting, like you say, we have talked about Quartararo going off the boil is definitely wrong. My theory that I've put on the podcast a couple of times is I don't think Fabio phones it in when things are bad, but I think there's an extra superstar gear he's got that only comes out when he's got a sniff of something special, and that was very much in evidence today. So the way Angelina and the Members Club phrased it was, is this proof that Yamaha have made a big step, or is Fabio simply one of the best riders on the grid, or a combination of both? And Felipe Dennis says, can we genuinely believe in an improvement in Yamaha's performance? They've done a good job in two very different tracks, Jerez and Qatar. Could we expect more podiums? So I know, Simon, you said this is all about Fabio, but he couldn't do it on last year's.
No, exactly. It is all about Fabio in relative to the other Yamahas, but he still wasn't able to do this previously. So the bike has got better. The bike has to have got better because he might be a bit better motivated than he was 12 months ago, but he hasn't suddenly become, he hasn't suddenly found that extra gear that you talked about. That isn't a new thing because he won a championship with it. Yes. So it's always been there. So obviously the bike is getting better. I think it has to be that the bike is getting better. The interesting thing for this weekend is they didn't have anything new.
Ah, that's interesting.
And that kind of makes me think that actually there's a bit of a work with what we've got and figure it out thing going on at the minute, combined with the fact that it's Jerez and that the bike has traditionally been all right here.
Yeah.
But the bike has also had absolute nightmares here on certain days when it's been super hot.
Yeah, true.
With that rear grip issue that they've had, that it used to be a Yamaha circuit and then it became like a Yamaha horror track for a few years as they struggled with that rear grip and the spin thing. And now that isn't a complaint anymore. It's all about acceleration and it's about top speed now. It's not about the initial corner exit is the complaint anymore. So actually, yeah, the bike has to have got better.
We'll definitely talk more about Yamaha in our follow-up podcast after the test because, they've got nothing new right now. But let's see what happens.
There are new things. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you say, this used to be such a Yamaha stronghold that you almost forget that it wasn't always. Because to me, it's like, okay, we've come to the start of the European season, a track with loads of medium and high-speed corners. This is Yamaha turf. This is where they'd start kind of moving away from the madness of the early flyways and start showing their strength. And yeah, it just felt like that again. But you don't expect that in 2025 because the last 3 years have been rubbish. I will talk about one technical Yamaha thing because before the weekend even started, there was a lot of V4 chat again. Fabio kind of saying how much they need that, but without giving away many details. And then Augusto Fernandez, who's still here as Miguel Oliveira's Pramac Yamaha stand-in, basically being very chatty about the V4.
After the Yamaha press officer told Fabio he could say nothing, and then Augusto went give away the game.
So before we actually kind of update on where things are with that, Eric Yip says, I'd like to hear more about the strength and difference of the inline 4 versus V4, especially on the straight. Fabio can qualify and have generally good race pace, but he's still got smoked on the straights like in Qatar. It must make it so much harder to race. So is it as simple these days as V4 will give you more power than inline 4? Or
well, I mean, that's the accepted wisdom, right?
Yeah.
That's the attitude is that it does. I had an interesting conversation this weekend at some point. I bumped into someone who used to work for Suzuki and who reminded me that actually the Suzuki was the fastest bike through the speed traps at the end with its inline 4.
Yeah.
And that Yamaha might be getting ready to sacrifice that amazing corner speed that they were actually able to use this weekend. I mean, this is the other thing about this weekend, right? There's been this vicious circle of Yamaha where they lost their ability to qualify really quickly.
Yeah.
We got into an era of MotoGP where it's really hard to overtake. And then the super fast Yamaha corner speed that was always their strength, they couldn't do anymore because they couldn't run their own lines through corners because there was another bike in front of them because the V's approach corners really differently. Fabio qualified on pole, and look what happens. He got to the front of the race and suddenly there was no one in his way and he was able to ride like Fabio on a Yamaha. And they're going to lose that with a V4. It's going to take... we've seen this from other riders. I mean, look at Maverick Vinales. It took Maverick a season and a half, basically, to adopt from an inline 4 to a V4. Whereas going the other way seems so much easier.
Yeah.
A la Jack Miller. who's went from a V to an inline and it's made it look pretty easy. So there's a challenge in bringing the V4 because, you know, it is faster in a straight line in theory, but then it means you have to slam on the brakes, bang through the corners and accelerate out instead of rolling and carrying that speed. So I'm increasingly of the opinion that it might not be the solution. And I think it's going to be really interesting to watch what happens, because do you know what? It could be that Quartararo jumps on the back, and it will be, let's be honest, it will be Fabio that makes the decision essentially for Yamaha. It's not going to be Alex Rins, and it's not going to be Jack Miller, and it's not going to be Miguel Oliveira. He could jump on the kind of the more close to the final version of the V4 bike, which the one that Augusta rode this week was not, and say, no, I don't like it. It means I have to change my whole riding style. At which point, all the money they paid to keep him from going to Aprilia will look like a bit of a bargain by the time they've just developed a new MotoGP bike to put in the metal shredder.
Yeah, very true. It was interesting as well, pre-weekend when Quartararo was talking about the V4 versus inline 4, he did kind of chuck in this throwaway, I might not even be here when they make the change anyway. So, well, we expect that V4 will turn up. I mean,
he will, because it'll turn up at some point. Yeah, it's become a bit of a running joke with Mr. Say Everything whenever you don't mean to Augusto Fernandez that he's going to wild card on it at Motegi this year, which he's like completely down for the rumour but doesn't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. I guess the only other thing with inline 4 versus V4 is that degree of, can you afford to not have what everyone else has when, you know, the trend is for that to dominate now and the lines are so different?
Yeah, that is true, but also it's worth noting that the most dominant MotoGP bike of the 4-stroke era came whenever Honda decided to build a bloody V5.
Yeah.
So sometimes being different isn't a bad thing.
No, and particularly with fewer top spec Ducatis on the grid, maybe. And KTM, we can. It's
a shame that the rules say you have to have 4 cylinders now. Yamaha could just solve all the problems. Build a triple, which would be quite Yamaha-esque. Actually, it would quite fit. You know.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online. Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
At the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event, get deals so right, it almost feels wrong. Now's the best time to get that Hyundai you've always wanted. Plus, every new Hyundai comes with America's best warranty and 3 years or 36,000 miles of limited complimentary maintenance. Don't think you can get away with all that? Think again. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today. It's a great day for a new Hyundai.
Okay, sorry, Alex Marquez. Sorry, Grassini. You've won your first Grand Prix together. You're leading the World Championship. We're mentioning you last in tonight's mini podcast. But, you know, Quartararo leading Montreal Grand Prix, Marc Marquez crashing out. Those were pretty notable things. Alex Marquez winning a Grand Prix is notable as well. Now, Simon, before we get into this too much, both Gordon and Angelina in the Members Club have thrown in the obligatory, always a satellite bike leading the championship abuse for you, because, as you've famously said, satellite bikes can't win.
Yeah, Alex Marquez is not Jorge Martin.
As much as I've mocked you over the last... How long has Jorge been was Jorge a championship contender? 2 years? Satellite riders can't win championships. I agree on this, right? I do think Alex Marquez is not Jorge Martin. But this is not the Alex Marquez we've seen in previous years, is it? He started this race listeners.
Very much like the Alex Marquez of
So I was on a slight lag with my video feed, and I got a little preview in our work chat with Simon going, "Real Alex is back," and so I thought, I assume Alex has crashed. But what it was actually a reference to was him threading a needle between his brother and Pecco with a completely out of control start to that braking zone at the end of the back straight on lap one.
It was kind of peak Alex Marquez, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just a bit leery and thought through, which is exactly what you expect from him.
But what a turnaround to go from there to winning his first Grand Prix in very impressive style. So,
I mean, yeah, it was awesome. He was so much better than the Alex Marquez that I've seen in the past after that.
There's a bit of a split in views on Alex Marquez in the members club, though. We've got a few comments along the lines of Ali saying, "Can we finally say that Alex Marquez is becoming consistent?" Jay Ferreira saying, "Alex has really elevated to another level. I thought he'd pull out a classic Alex moment," which he nearly did by nearly sweeping Pecco and Marc off the track. "I thought he wouldn't keep the lead because he hasn't got much experience of leading races except with Marc behind him. But wow, I was rooting for Quartararo, but what a ride." But it's that split between people going, "Look, he's developing, he's turning into this genuinely top-line rider." And then on the other hand, we've got Paul Leggett saying, "I'm really happy for Alex, but is he that good? Or is he just another good rider on a Ducati? Imagine Fabio Quartararo, imagine Maverick Vinales on Ducatis." So where are you on this?
Yeah, he's another good rider in a Ducati, but guess what? He's just beaten Pecco Bagnaia on one.
Yeah.
Like it's not like there's a dearth of other talented riders on Ducatis, and he is statistically the best of all of them, including Marc at the minute.
Yeah.
Like, he's beating Marc Marquez. He was significant contributing factor to Marc's crash today. The way he was behind him, breathing down his neck, looking more comfortable than Marc was, and Marc feeling a bit of pressure. Marc is not supposed to feel pressure from Alex. That is fundamentally not how it works, but it's exactly what happened today. So no, he is a very, very good rider making this bike work. Do I think that others would be maybe more competitive if they were in the same machinery? I mean, Quartararo would be battling with Marquez on this bike, with Marc. Quartararo would, but Quartararo is probably, I'd go as far as almost to say, a generational talent.
Yeah.
Among this group, he's beyond Martin and Bagnaia. He's better than them. He's better than other world champions like Mir. He is. I'm very much of that opinion. So yes, Alex Marquez is not one of those, but I mean, he's beaten Fabio Di Giannantonio on a better bike. He's beating Franco Morbidelli handily. And then you look at Maverick, but you look at like Pedro Acosta is currently getting beaten by Maverick.
Yeah.
So, he's not even the best KTM rider, let alone the best of the rest at the minute. So, no, Alex is incredibly talented. He's a double world champion, and totally deserves to be doing what he's doing because, it's not just because of the bike.
You mentioned Maverick Vinales beating Pedro Acosta at the moment. That is one of the topics we've had a lot of questions on Patreon about, and we will get into in part 2 of this podcast later this week.
I decided to be really shy about that and just straight up ask Pedro about it. So we've got that answer.
We'll bring you his reply in our second podcast in the next few days. The thing with Alex is he has elevated himself this season. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think he's been able to do it because he's been able to get away with a few of those kind of Alex moments and still be in the top 3, still fight back. There's not the strength and depth at the front of the field with KTM in trouble, with Aprilia in trouble, with Jorge Martin not there. So he's got room to Alex around a bit more and still get away with...
Love that phrase.
Still get away with some amazing results. But... he's just won a Grand Prix. He hadn't done that before. This is a rider who's taken a big step up in confidence and kind of execution efficiency through having this better opportunity this year with a kind of weaker field at the front. Now he's proved he can win a Grand Prix as well. And he hasn't done it through his brother doing him a favour because Marc's got a big points lead and just goes, "Oh, little bro, this will be fine." He's not beaten Marc in a straight fight, but he's dismissed Pecco Bagnaia completely today. I can see another big confidence step from Alex as a result of this, and I can see another few percent of performance coming out of it. I don't think that adds up to a title bid, but Alex has surprised me throughout this season. We really mocked Ollie Card, our designer, for putting Alex as high up as he did in his championship prediction, and that was only like 4th or something. Now 2nd looks genuinely genuinely on, unless Pecco Bagnaia, who we'll also talk about more later this week, finds some answers. So I'm not saying Alex Marquez is going to be world champion in MotoGP. I still don't think that's going to happen. But I completely think Alex Marquez is going to make me go, what have you just done? Where did that come from? In a good way, multiple times the rest of this season.
In a good way.
Not like
in a good way. Not like all the other times.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think this will make a difference to him. And I think Gresini's a great environment for a rider who gets more confidence from things going well for him as well.
Yeah.
I imagine the atmosphere down there was quite special this afternoon.
Alex was surprisingly sober looking when I last saw him, to be perfectly honest. It's one of those horrible things where you win a race and you have a test the next day.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Which is kind of puts a bit of a dampener on things, to be perfectly honest. I always feel sorry for people that do that.
Yeah, definitely. That's a bit harsh, actually, isn't it? Should let him have Tuesday morning testing as well, maybe.
Well, there is a reason that the post-Valencia test was moved from Monday to Tuesday.
Yes. That is very necessary. So we'll leave it there for part 1 of this week's podcast. Val has been cracking on through his rider rankings so they can be published on the website as soon as possible, and Val will be doing his rider rankings debrief on Patreon, or as it's also known, Val's Tangents. There'll be a chance to kind of throw whatever questions you want to him about that. Some combination of us will be back after the test on Monday night. Probably get that out to you Tuesday morning. There's another episode 2015 Revisited coming out later this week as well. Thank you for your questions for the first part of this podcast. We'll be back in your ears even sooner than usual, talking Pecco Bagnaia, GP25s, what's going on at KTM, maybe even, oh look, we've just seen a Yamaha V4 going around Jerez. Who can say?
The Athletic.